This is the hardest thing an artist can draw. Harder than this? Well, for most artists, yes. And now I can do all kinds of very nice ellipses and cylinders, but yesterday they looked like this, which can lead to this. Can you see how crooked everything is? That's because a crooked ellipse can ruin any wheel, cylinder, or circle that you're drawing in perspective. But what I didn't expect is for the solution to look like this. Well, not that one, just a simple perpendicular cross. Please tell me you could draw a simple perpendicular cross. But before we can use it, I need to explain how that cross makes sense because, well, it made my brain hurt a little bit. See, to make nice cylinders and ellipses, you need to know this quick perspective trick. Known only by crazy people that like throwing a million lines towards every direction possible and they bury it behind oh my god, why are these videos so long? This one isn't. Stay here. Ellipses are circles in perspective. The circles are in planes. Planes are often represented as squares. The perspective of squares is very easy to understand. The lines vanish towards a point. The perspective of a circle is not easy to understand. But how can we solve this? Well, if you answered with a square, you're both right and wrong. Because squares are two-dimensional and we need to start thinking in 3D. At least until the cross comes along. In fact, just stay until the end of this video because I want to show you how you really only need that cross. And you know what? If you're just having some trouble with perspective in general, there are a few good courses on Skillshare, so I'm going to give you 1 month for free. You can just click on the description to get it. Now, first of all, circles have two axes, and ellipses are just squished circles. Sure, that's easy enough, but if you want to draw a circle in, say, this perspective, how do you squeeze it exactly? Well, here's what you need to know. Ellipses are symmetrical. Each quarter is exactly the same. Keep this in mind at all times. Because when thinking in perspective, you might think that this is the center of your ellipse, when it's not. This is. Perspective is tricking you a bit. Don't worry about it, it happens to me too. Now let's talk about the small axis first. It is here, the small line. But how do we figure it out? Well, to learn how to draw circles, you need to draw a square and find its center. Think of this square as if it was on an axis. Now let me show you this car. Find the middle point by crossing the angles of the square. The axis of these square wheels should follow this line, perpendicular to the square's perspective. Draw it over the square, and now you have the small axis. Unfortunately, you can't think of this square as a simple plane in perspective. You will have to figure out the vanishing point of the perpendicular axis, as if you were drawing a cube. See this simple example. The vanishing point is right in the middle. The perpendicular vanishing point is also a straight vertical line. But in this example, the opposing vanishing point is here. So the minor axis of the ellipse is this line. Now for the major axis, finally, you split that short axis in the middle, not in perspective, in the literal middle, as if you were measuring it with a ruler. Then draw a line at a perfect perpendicular angle. Not in perspective, just make a straight cross. This cross. Finally, time to draw. So just like in a circle, the ellipse has to touch the square in 4 middle points. And you also know that the cross that you drew has to split the ellipse evenly. So knowing these two things, you give it a try. What you need to make sure is that you touch the 4 points and that the quarters are symmetrical. It doesn't matter if the lines in the axis go on within the square. You need to stop thinking in perspective and just meet these two requirements. And you might fail in the beginning, I know because it took me a few tries, but you can always count in the minor and major axis to correct your mistakes. It is a bit mind-bending because you have to change between thinking in 3D but executing in 2D, which I know that is the base for volume drawing, but you have to be really conscious about it. Finding that square angle for the major axis can be a bit dizzying. But I promise that you will only need the cross, and we've been throwing a lot more lines than that. But after practicing it only for a day, I started to get it more and more. Let's try that car again. I know where the axis of the wheels are going to be in, so I know it is this line. This will be my small axis. Now I choose how big I want the small axis to be. Now do a big axis, always in a 90-degree angle to the small axis, and then just do the ellipse. Focus on having each quarter of the ellipse be more or less the same size, and that's it. I'm doing a lot of visualization here. I'm not drawing the square, but I'm seeing it in my mind. This is something that you will develop as you practice more. Now going back to the cup. If you want the small axis to just be a vertical line, this is your easiest path towards an ellipse. And yes, it might be a bit crooked in the beginning as you practice, but now you have a method to know if you're drawing the ellipse right or if your brain is just messing with you. But this applies to any cylinder and any ellipse. Start with the vanishing point at the center of your ellipse, perpendicular cross, equal quarters, and just draw away. Still, you might not be able to tell if you're drawing your symmetry right, and if you want some tips on how to fix your symmetry and how to retrain your brain so it never fails you again, I have a video for you and it is right here.